Hello everyone, I'm Jyotsna, and today we will discuss about digestion of food. This is from Standard 6 Biology. Before we talk about the topic, you can see a picture on the screen wherein the entire digestive system of humans is depicted. This process begins right in the mouth and ends at the anus, from where undigested food is removed in the form of feces. So now let's begin. Food. Why do we need food? Well, it provides us with the necessary energy and right amounts of nutrients which are required for our survival. Now, whatever kind of food we eat and the nutrients which are present in it undergo 5 essential steps. What are those steps? Let's discuss. They begin with ingestion. As the name suggests, this is a process by which an organism takes in food. Food is taken in short, for ingestion. The second is digestion, that is the process of breaking down of complex food into simple, absorbable molecules with the help of certain digestive juices or enzymes, followed by absorption. Absorption is a process by which digested food is absorbed by the body. The second last step is assimilation. That is, now this is a process in which absorbed food is incorporated into living cells and it is used for growth and other purposes. And last is digestion, which is a process of removal of undigested food through the body. I hope you understand these 5 steps, beginning from ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and digestion. Now, the digestion process, we are going to be focusing on the organs which are involved in this process along with their functions. As I had said, digestion begins right in the mouth. The food that is ingested, it passes through alimentary canal or the food canal. This is a long muscular coiled tube and it is from the mouth to the anus. It begins from the mouth and ends at the anus. Digestive system breaks down big food particles so that they can be carried through the body and transform food molecules into simple molecules which then can be absorbed. This ensures that the indigested food is absorbed, as I had just said, into the blood vessels which further help in nourishing all the body cells. Because after absorption comes the process of assimilation, wherein the digested food is incorporated into living cells and this is then used for various purposes in the body. Here is a picture of human digestive system. There are various organs which are involved in this digestive system. We will briefly discuss all of these. Now, the different organs of the alimentary canal include mouth and mouth cavity, followed by esophagus, which is also called as gullet, followed by stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. Now, there are certain associated glands which help in the process of digestion, and these glands include salivary gland, liver and pancreas. Now, let's discuss each of these briefly. Let's begin with mouth. Try to see what all your mouth comprises of. You would notice it has tongue, teeth as well as salivary glands. Now digestion, I have repeated this, it begins in the mouth because it is here that the food is bitten off and chewed. Chewed is also referred to as masticated because here the food gets mixed with saliva, that watery substance that we have in our mouth. This is secreted by salivary gland. And this is why we had said initially that along with digestion, there are certain glands which are associated which help in the process of digestion itself. So saliva is secreted by salivary gland. Now we also have teeth. Teeth play an important part in ensuring that the food that we eat is digested in a proper manner. That is, there are 4 kinds of teeth that humans have. These are incisors, canines, premolars and molars. So let's talk about all of them individually. Incisors are flat teeth. They're present in the front. There are 4 teeth in each jaw. So you would see there are total of 8 incisors in your mouth. Followed by canines, which are sharp teeth, and they're present on either sides of incisors. Next, there are premolars, which are present behind canines, followed by molars, which are present behind premolars. These are the pictures of each different kind of teeth that humans have. We see how their structure helps in different functions that they perform. In this picture, it clearly shows where your different kind of teeth are and the function they perform. Let's begin with canines. Since they are strong and pointed, they're used for tearing food. For instance, you might use them to tear off a piece of tough meat. It's not just meat that we talk about, it is just an example to make you understand that canines are essentially used for tearing food. Molars, since they are broad and they're flat on top, they're used for crushing and grinding food. For example, you might use them to grind up nut meats. Followed by premolars, which have features of both canines and molars, that is, they help in tearing and grinding food. Now, next we have incisors, which are sharp and blade-like. They're like this because they're used for cutting food. For instance, when you bite off into an apple, you are essentially biting it off from the apple and actually cutting it. So for that, incisors are used. Now, a man has 2 sets of teeth in his life. In a human child, the child has milk teeth, that is early set of teeth which are present in a baby, and they are 20 in number. When the child grows, the child starts losing out milk teeth, which are then replaced by permanent teeth. They appear after milk teeth and they are 32 in number. Now we have an investigation here in which you are to examine your teeth. Here you are to stand in front of a mirror and count your teeth. You have to focus on the number of molars and premolars that you have in your mouth. Next, ask your friend to examine his own teeth, or you do that for him, and see and count the number of incisors and canines in his or her mouth. So this activity is quite simple. Second, we have tongue. In fact, tongue is already present in the mouth. It is very helpful for a number of things. First, it is helpful because it mixes chewed food with saliva and it helps in swallowing the food as well. There are many taste buds present on the tongue because of which we can sense various tastes like sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and these. So the buds are the ones that help in distinguishing among these four basic tastes that I just said. And tongue also helps us in speaking, because when we make sounds, sometimes we notice that our tongue moves accordingly, and this is the reason that tongue is important for us, because it helps us in speaking as well. The second investigation is to locate the taste buds on the tongue. Here you are required to prepare certain solutions. First solution is a sweet solution, that is a solution of sugar. Second is salt solution. Third is a sour solution, which can be made using imli. And the last solution is bitter, which can be made using neem leaves juice. So now I would request you to have these solutions that you've prepared, the four solutions that you've prepared, in separate beakers or containers, and have separate droppers for each. Ask one of your friends to stick his tongue out, and with each beaker, one after the other, take one drop of solution in the dropper and place them on the tongue. Ask your friend to identify the tastes of these different solutions, and you are done with your activity or investigation. Next, we have salivary glands. There are three pairs of salivary glands in our mouth. Saliva is the watery material which is secreted by the salivary gland, and it helps in digestion because it contains an enzyme called as amylase or ptyalin. It acts on starch, that is, whatever starch we have in the food is acted upon by this enzyme present in saliva called as amylase, and then that starch is converted into maltose. Maltose is a kind of sugar, so it is definitely sweet, and it is water soluble. The second organ is esophagus, which is also called as gullet. This connects mouth cavity with the stomach, and it is also referred to as the food pipe. The only function it does is to help pushing the food into the stomach. Now, when the food has reached the stomach, the food is churned and converted into semi-solid waste. And you might ask, what does the stomach look like? Well, it is a muscular bag which is located in the upper abdomen. And as I said, the food is churned and converted into semi-solid paste here. The stomach also secretes certain gastric juice and an acid. The proteins in the food here are partly digested by the secreted gastric juice, and it is here that this partly digested food now goes to the small intestine for further digestion. Now, small intestine, it is a long coiled tube wherein all kinds of food is digested. The food here is converted into simple form, and glucose along with amino acids and fatty acids are formed here, which can then be absorbed. The inner surface of the small intestine has very interesting structures which resemble fingers. They're referred to as villi, and the reason why they are there is so that they can help in increasing the absorption area of the digested food. Because once now this digested food is absorbed, it is passed on to the blood system, and the nutrients are carried to the entire body. Because the blood is a connecting tissue, it flows through the entire body, so it carries along with it the nutrients which are absorbed by the digestion of the food. This is a picture of villi. If we see, these are finger-like structures which further have tiny tiny hair-like projections, and these projections are referred to as microvilli. Again, the reason why they are present in the inner lining of the small intestine is so that it can increase area for absorption. From small intestine, the food reaches the large intestine, which does not have any digestive function, but it helps in absorbing water from the undigested food and makes it into semi-solid waste. It is here undigested waste products are stored in the rectum and then thrown out through the anus. It is the removal of undigested waste products. So this is how our process of digestion is completed. We see that it begins in the mouth and ends at the anus. Now, oftentimes when we eat food, we really do not focus on this entire long process, which is so sophisticated that it requires such great steps in getting passed on from one part or one organ to another, and various functions happen there that we just don't focus on that. So it is now time that once you understand this process of digestion, you think about your food habits, you think consciously when you eat and realize that you should put in good food in your body, that it takes a long amount of time for this food to be digested thoroughly and to be absorbed in your body, which later on is used for various purposes. Now, the associated glands, we have already discussed about salivary glands, which produces saliva, which further has amylase in it, and amylase acts on starch to convert them into sugar or maltose. Now, liver is another associated gland because it secretes bile juice, which is stored in a small bag called as gallbladder. It is because of the liver that digestion of fats is possible, and liver is also the largest gland in our body. So this is useful information. If you are ever asked a question about the largest gland, you should be able to quickly answer that it is liver. Now, pancreas, it also secretes certain digestive enzymes which help in digestion. Now, it also secretes insulin, and insulin is important. It is very, very important because it helps in regulating blood sugar levels. If you've heard about any diabetic patient, you might have also heard that they take insulin injections. It is because of some certain issues in their pancreas that insulin is not produced in the required or desired quantity, and hence they have to take insulin injections to help regulate their blood sugar levels. So again, this is an important useful information which is extra apart from what we are discussing, because knowledge is not just one aspect, it is always interconnected with various information as well. This is a picture which shows liver, stomach, which is present in the upper abdomen, along with pancreatic duct, which is in the pancreas, and here is a bile duct. So we see how closely these organs are associated with one another and help in functioning, in smooth functioning of various organ systems in our body. And we can also see that sometimes some organs can be part of more than one system. For instance, liver is a part of digestive system as well as one more system, which I want you all to think about and see for yourself how this is possible, that one organ can be a part of more than one system in the body. Now, when we talk about digestion in humans, we also have to focus about something called as nutrition. As we've been talking about the nutrients that get absorbed in our body through the food that we eat after going through various processes, we must know what is nutrition. Well, it is a process by which organisms obtain and utilize food. That is, once you have ingested food, how it is utilized as well. It's not just about obtaining food, it is also about getting it utilized in your body. Second aspect that we've been talking about digestion is enzymes. We've been saying that this particular enzyme works on this particular compound and does this. But what are enzymes in nature? What do we mean by them? Well, the process of digestion is brought about with the help of these biological molecules. So enzymes are helpful biological molecules which help in digestion, and they're mostly protein in nature. There are various enzymes which have RNAs. We essentially talk about the ones that are mostly protein in nature. Now here in this tabular form in the picture that you can see on the screen, there is a summary of digestion wherein we talk about the various parts of the digestive system along with the enzymes or juices that they secrete and the food they act upon, and finally what products are formed after the enzymes or gastric juices act upon the food. So we begin with mouth, which has amylase in it, and like the mouth has saliva which is produced or which is secreted by salivary glands, and in this saliva is amylase, an enzyme which is present. This enzyme works on starch and converts them into sugars. In stomach, it secretes gastric juice, that is pepsin. Enzyme is present in that, and pepsin acts upon proteins, thereby converting them into amino acids. In pancreas, several enzymes are secreted, for instance trypsin, lipase, which is also referred to as strypsin, and sucrose. These work upon proteins, starch and fats, which leads to the formation of amino acids, maltose, fatty acids, and glucose. In small intestine, intestinal juice is secreted which has various enzymes. It works upon partially digested proteins and carbohydrates. And the products which are then converted lead to the formation of glucose and other simple sugars. So we must appreciate the beauty of our digestive system, which is so complex and yet works in such a smooth manner that we do not feel anything and we just eat whatever we feel like as per our mood, and we must be thankful for this system in fact, and of course appreciate God's sophisticated work. Next, in this picture we have a diagram of the digestive system with each part clearly labeled along with that part's function and working. So this picture is for you to see and read thoroughly. Also try to understand what we have discussed so far. This is in short a summary of the discussion that we've had about the different organs along with associated glands of digestive system of humans. Next, we have the third investigation, which is to show that certain chemicals digest food. Herein, you are required to take some food sample in a test tube. Now, because we are working on showing chemicals digest food, this is referred to as starch test to show that starch is indeed present in the food. So for that, you can take potato tubers pieces and put them in a test tube. Once you do that, add a few drops of iodine solution and you would see that the food sample, that is that potato tubers we had taken, they turn into blue-black color. This indicates the presence of starch in certain food materials, for instance potato tuber, because starch gets converted into the color changes to blue-black upon addition of iodine solution. Now this is to indicate the presence of starch, as I said. Now to indicate that certain chemicals digest food, again take a test tube with some pieces of potato tubers and now add enzyme amylase. You can get that in the form of a solution. Once you do that, leave it untouched or undisturbed for some time, let's say 30 minutes or an hour. After this time has passed by, again put some drops of iodine solution in this test tube. Now you would notice that the color of the potato tubers in the test tube is unchanged because the starch that was present in them has been acted upon by amylase, and since there is no starch left, the iodine solution cannot do anything, and hence there is no presence of blue-black color in this test tube. I hope you've understood how certain chemicals do indeed digest food and that starch is indeed present in potato tubers. Now once we talk about digestion, we must also touch upon indigestion, because indigestion is something that happens to every person from one time and again. It happens to everyone time and again. So indigestion is also referred to as dyspepsia, and it happens to everyone from time to time. Now, why does this happen, in fact, is what we are going to talk about, because there are certain symptoms. And the certain symptoms include stomach pain. They include bloating as well. Bloating refers to swelling due to gas or liquid. Another symptom is vomiting, burning sensation in stomach, and excessive gas formation. So if you have any of these, it could be a sign of indigestion. Now the causes are because one person overeats or eats rapidly. Another could be that a person has had spicy, oily or fatty food, or we sometimes lie down soon after eating. So this is also a leading cause of indigestion. Smoking and drinking too much alcohol also contribute to indigestion. So even though we know the symptoms, we know the causes, sometimes we're not very careful about our health. So these could also indicate other digestive tract problems. So it's important that we do not ignore these signs and consult a doctor right away, so that we can take care of our health in a better way. Now, when we've talked about digestion, we've talked about indigestion, there is something called as healthy food habits. I am sure everybody has heard about them time and again, but how many of us do really practice these good food habits? I think very few. So we must focus. We must bring our attention to the fact that what we put in our bodies is absorbed in our body. So it's important to focus on eating healthy rather than eating junk food all the time. It is important to develop and maintain the following good habits. Let's quickly read them out because it's very common and everybody knows them, but it's important to reiterate. So a person should focus on having a balanced diet as per one's age, health and occupation. So balanced diet is a foremost point of developing good food habits. We must always have clean food which is properly cooked, and it has to be fresh food. We must avoid fried food, and we must eat and cook our food in clean utensils. We must have an intake which is adequate, which includes adequate amounts of green salad, vegetables along with fruits. It is said that the more number of colored fruits, vegetables we eat in our diet, the better it is for our health. We must try to eat food which is simple and it can be digested easily. We must have adequate amount of clean filtered water as well, and we must chew our food well. It is noticed sometimes that when we eat rapidly, we face problems like indigestion. So in order to avoid that, it is very important for us to chew our food well, because if we have chewed the food well, when it reaches the stomach and when the process begins of food being churned, it becomes easy for the food to be acted upon by the gastric juice or enzymes which are produced, which are secreted and which work upon that food. And we must develop regular eating habits. Some of us skip meals, which is not at all healthy. So we must have food at regular intervals so that we can take care of ourselves. I hope with this topic and the discussion that we've had on it, I have sensitized you all about, again, God's great work of giving us such sophisticated systems which work in such synchronization with each other that many a times we are not even mindful of them. And about the fact that it is important what we put in our bodies is healthy, and that we develop along with maintain the good food habits. Just developing them once in a week, we think that we've done something which is good for us, wouldn't work. We need to be consistent with them. We need to maintain them over a period of time, in fact throughout our lives if possible, to be in prime of our health. This is one way how you can keep yourself disease free and active. With this, we come to an end of the discussion of this chapter, which was digestion of food, wherein we have talked about all the organs which are involved in the process, along with indigestion and healthy food habits.